Hello, welcome to the Fit Mama Freedom Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here on this podcast. Our desire is to help empower women to reclaim their health and their well-being without sacrificing their health in order to chase a rank or any dream. I'm Angela Campbell, your host, and I'm excited to guide you on this transformative journey. In each episode you hear, we're going to dive into challenges women face as they juggle business, responsibilities, family duties, and the pressures of this crazy world of dieting culture that is running rampant. It's time to break free from the mindset that you have to choose between your health and your responsibilities, because that is a lie. Together, we'll explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and expert insights that will help you prioritize your health while thriving in all areas of your life. So whether you're a busy mom, a driven entrepreneur, or just someone looking to control or to take control of your well-being, you are in the right place. Let's get started on this journey to freedom and empowerment. Please. And yeah, I do too.
Ask me the questions. I got them. I can just
spit it off. I love it.
Some I'll be very simple and straightforward with, but others I'll dive a little bit deeper.
Dive in. Awesome. All right. Let's see. It says we're live. I always love to double check. Yep, we're here. And always love to double check. Sound check. I always sound check myself because I've talked to myself. Nobody can hear me at times. All right, you guys, we're live. We're here. I know it's always a little bit delayed, so some people will be hopping on shortly as we are getting started. We'll get into it in just a second, but I want to, those of you guys that are here inside of our Freedom Macro Method Facebook community, I know this is a topic that I know that has been a huge, not in our group, but in the entire world. I feel like in today, especially with health and weight loss and all of the things. And I know I've gotten a lot of amazing feedback from a lot of you guys that wanted to know more. Some of you are on these GLP-1 products, shots, all the things that Brian is going to educate us all, including myself, on today. And some of you guys are not. Some of you guys are curious about it. And some of you are, okay, I'm on it, but what the heck am I supposed to do besides just take a shot, right? And so that's what you're going to hear it all from Brian today. And good morning, Suzanne. I see some people hopping on. As you are hopping on, you guys do us a favor and just say hi. Let us know that we're here. And if you are watching on replay, drop replay below. And if you have questions, drop them in the comments. If we get to them on here, great. If not, we'll get them answered. But before I turn it over to Brian, you guys, Brian is also a health coach, and he also is a pharmacist, and he's got so much knowledge wrapped around the GLP-1s. And so we connected in the health coaching world. And so I'm going to start by just going right into the first question. Or Brian, you can start off by sharing about you, and then I would love to start the first question of why are so many people dropping so much weight on these shots? So I'm going to turn it over to you and go from there.
Thank you for having me, Angela. It's really great to be here, and I really look up to you, inspire to you, and everything you've done. So it's been inspirational in my journey as a health coach. Just to back up a minute, I've been a pharmacist now for 12 years, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I started this journey as a health coach about 5 years ago when I just saw people were not really in the hospital. They were not getting any better. They were always sicker, seeing the same people over and over again. And that really just inspired me to really learn how I can help people and prevent them from getting to that place in the first place. Because I kid you not, one of the most common questions I would ask people is like, hey, what else can I get for you right now? And they would tell me a new body. And that was like one of the serious but kind of kidding answers they would tell me, aside from like food and water and a warm blanket. They would ask for a new body. I'm like, wow. So really powerful. I need to learn how to help people prevent and heal themselves. And so that's what got me to the health coaching world. And here I am. And I'm really happy to be here. And you asked a question. It was, why do people lose weight so fast on these medications? That was the first question, right? And it's simply because they just blunt your appetite. Like, so they will take a person who maybe you guys have heard of food noise. Anybody ever like heard of food noise? The term, like constantly thinking about food, thoughts about food. Like I just can't shut my brain off about food. So one of the things that it does is it just shuts that down. It suppresses your appetite, when you get to the physical level of your body, it just slows down your stomach emptying the contents. So if you're eating food, it's got to keep moving through the system for you to keep putting food into the system. And once you hit that full point, like your stomach has sensors on it and it's saying, "Hey, I've had enough." But you maybe have heard like that takes like 15 minutes for your brain to kind of catch up to your stomach. And then like you keep overeating and overeating, and you're like, oh, like now all of a sudden I'm really stuffed, right? Well, this kind of speeds that process up. So it makes it so that you are not going to be able to put as much into the system. You get fuller quicker because it literally slows the food down into your stomach. And so when you just decrease calorie intake, you lose weight. But obviously, there's a really important caveat there is like, what kind of calories are you decreasing, right? So, and there's ways to get around this too, because there are very hyper palatable foods that don't fill you up, foods that are high in dopamine responses, like processed foods, to name a few, that just really, really high calories that may, if you're like, well, I'm not losing weight on these things, it's because you possibly are still eating too many calories and you're just not doing it in a way that like, because those foods don't fill you up anyway. So this medication doesn't work miracles in the sense of like it preventing you from eating processed foods. It might just decrease those cravings for those processed foods. Does that make sense, Angela? Any questions on that? Like,
Yeah, no, that makes sense because I have seen people having, dropping a lot of weight, and I have seen people like, I'm not losing weight. And you're right, like, because if you're taking this, because it is a tool to help people lose weight, but if you're still stuffing yourself with processed foods and drive-throughs and all this stuff, well, I mean, it's not a free pass, is the biggest thing I would say. It's not a free pass to just eat a bunch of junk
yeah,
per se, right?
it doesn't magically make your metabolism just skyrocket. It's not impacting your metabolism. It's impacting the calories in part of the equation. And so if you're still putting too many calories in through processed foods that again are hard to make you fill up anyway, and like they're just so calorie dense that especially drinking water, like beverages that are high in calories, those are the kind of things that unless like I said, it's preventing you from eating those in the first place, like it's preventing that craving from happening or shutting down that food noise, then that's where it would work because it would just decrease that calorie intake. But it's not like a magic. If you're still eating a lot of calories, too many calories, you don't just lose weight on these medications.
Right. You still have to have the other two components, which is workouts and nutrition, which is a piece that we're going to talk about today too.
Yeah.
For best results, best case scenario. Um, I love it. So your professional opinion, you're a pharmacist, you've done that for 12 years, you said, and so you help people. And I know this is also something that you specialize in as a health coach, helping
Yeah.
people with diabetes. And so this medication, a lot of these medications, or at least maybe it was the first one, and now there's like 20 some odd different variations. I don't know. There's so
There's
many
like
I can't.
16 in the pipeline, guys. Big Pharma is not stopping. They are pushing
Oh my
down
God.
on this hard. Okay. I honestly think if they had it their way, everybody would be on a GLP-1. They want everybody to be on these
Money
things.
to them, right? They're making billions,
Yeah, because
trillions probably.
they're looking for other indications too, like alcoholism, like anything, you name it. There's like actually studies that show it decreases like addictive behaviors. So just watch out, right? Like it's coming.
Wow. That's crazy. That blows my mind. But
Well, and just a
that's
little
right.
side note on that, it's because it can impact dopamine levels in your brain. So, or the dopamine response in your brain. Again, that's why it can help with food cravings, food noise, because it can blunt your body's ability to like respond to dopamine as much, which then could lead to the side effect of like feeling a little bit down and depressed. And you're like, well, why am I feeling more depressed on this medication? Losing weight, it could be because you're not getting that, your body's not sensing that dopamine as much. So,
Right. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because I think that was one of my questions too, in your professional opinion. I mean, it started off for diabetics. I know my sister's a nurse practitioner. She's shared with me before, like she can't get some of her medications for her diabetic patients, but if it was for weight loss, like she could get it, which is
yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
But for just specifically for weight loss, like what is your professional opinion? Is it a good tool? Is it, case to case scenario? Is like I'd love
Yeah,
to just
case when used appropriately and with under the proper guidance, it's a good tool. Especially for like those people that really struggle with like food cravings, food noise, maybe their environment is just not set up appropriately, it can really help give it's a natural, it's a peptide. So GLP-1, what does that stand for? Glucagon like peptide 1. These naturally occur in our body. I think that's really important to know that. Just like you may have heard diabetes patients are put on insulin, this is like this is a peptide that's already in our body. They're just synthesizing it to there's just a bunch of different different forms of it that they're making with a little bit different responses and different doses, and everything kind of varies on that sense. But it's still something that is more naturally occurring in our body in a sense. And so, yeah, to answer your question, it's a good tool when used appropriately under the right guidance, and you can help avoid the side effects, and you have an exit strategy. I know we'll get to that later, an exit strategy on these, because I don't think they're, necessarily a good long-term solutions. Unless someone really wants to be on them for the rest of their life, they can be a good tool to bridge that gap. Just like I can use the example of someone who's so depressed. We know exercise boosts your mood, right? We know it's good for depression, anxiety. There was a whole study that just came out that showed the impact of 25 minutes a week resistance training was twice the effect of the best antidepressant. So just wrap your head around that for a second. Like 50 minutes a week is better of an impact than taking one of the best antidepressants. And even that is so individualized because each person does not respond to the antidepressant at the same degree. But what if you can't get someone to even go to the gym? You just need to get their mood boosted enough to get them to work out and to get that. Sorry, my daughter is screaming in the background, so I'm feeling
I
distracted.
cannot hear her. I cannot
Just
hear at all.
because I'm just hearing screaming in the background. So I'm trying to maybe I should put my headphones on, but does that make sense, Angela? Like how it can, an antidepressant is getting someone over that hump to get to the gym, to then boost their mood, reduce their anxiety. That's the same
Yeah.
way these things can be. Like not losing weight, I'm just constantly eating calories. It's going to initially, it's most likely it's going to decrease someone's calorie intake right from the beginning because they're going to eat less, and it's going to help in that sense. But let's get into what are some of the things. What was your next question? Let's get into some of the things you need to do.
Yeah, let's you already talked, the next question was side effects, but I think you've already hit a little bit on that. I'd like to dive into what is your biggest recommendation for people to do while on them so they don't lose muscle? Because one side effect of not eating enough and doing all day that is losing
Yeah.
muscle, which is huge. And so biggest recommendations while you're on them to prevent that.
Yeah, for sure. And just to back up, I think there are some side effects that we didn't talk about. When you slow down the emptying of your stomach, you risk a lot of people experience nausea, vomiting, as the side effect, just complete shutdown of appetite altogether. And that is obviously not something you want. It is important to still eat food and still take in calories to properly nourish your body. So if that happens, and then there's actually been shown that some people might have a deficiency in this hormone. So we might be seeing the best responses in people that have a deficiency of this hormone, this peptide in their body, versus people that maybe don't have that deficiency, and they might be the ones that are kind of over responding to the side effects of it. So don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's something that they're looking into as a possibility for the difference of why someone experiences side effects on some dose versus others don't. And then also important to note that just because they have these higher doses and ramping up phases doesn't mean you necessarily need to do that until you hit this ceiling of side effect. People can still benefit. There's practitioners out there doing what's called micro dosing. So just giving smaller, fraction doses of these peptides to help people just kind of benefit without pushing the boundaries, so to say, of side effects. But yeah, the biggest cautionary thing is just nausea, vomiting, just complete shutdown of appetite. And then long term, they look at, you never know really long term with medication this new, but there are concerns over thyroid cancer. And so we kind of, that's why maybe not being on these for a very long time is a good idea. So to answer your question, muscle loss, yeah, one thing that's really interesting is when they did these studies and they looked at weight loss, right? Oh, people were losing weight Great. Well, I always differentiate with people. There's a huge difference between weight loss and fat loss. It is inevitable when you lose weight that you're going to lose muscle. But primarily, we want that weight to be fat, not muscle. Because if you drop, let's say, 60% fat muscle, which they've shown on DEXA scans, some people were showing a high degree of muscle loss from this decreased calorie intake, that then they only lost like 40% of fat. You actually end up with a higher body fat percentage than you started off with, which, yeah, you're losing weight. There are other markers that improve, but long term, not great, because muscle is really the key to longevity, looking good, feeling good, and having a good quality of life, a health span, not just a good lifespan. So I know I covered a lot there, but
Well, no, I love that because, I think that could also tie in. Like I was just speaking to a lady the other day that was on them for a while. She got off of them. She's gained half of her weight back. Like, but a big piece of it, she even admitted, like, I didn't eat enough protein. I didn't maintain my muscle. And so it's coming all back, which is a big piece of why a lot of people, if they get off any tool, honestly, whether it's GLP-1 or anything of a drastic dieting, they're losing weight from losing muscle. A lot of that just rebounds and comes right back because they're not doing the proper things to maintain muscle and lose fat. Like you said, it's fat loss is what we preach in here too. It's like, let's use fat, not just pounds on the scale. Like there's a bigger picture.
yeah, for sure. Fat loss is far more important. And you do not, I'd honestly say, uh, I would, and I like this kind of analogy. I'd rather swap 10 pounds out of fat for 10 pounds of muscle for someone. You will weigh the same, but you will look and feel drastically different if you just swap out 10 pounds. Not that's really possible, but if you just think of that as like a thought experiment, swapping out 10 pounds of fat for 10 pounds of muscle. And again, not to say fat weighs more than, or muscle does not weigh more than fat. It's just more dense, so it takes up less space. So you will look different, you will feel different, and yeah, just that's why it's so important to differentiate between fat loss and weight loss. And in this case, taking these, they did not really talk about how much muscle people were losing. And so let's talk about strategies to prevent muscle loss so you don't end up being skinny fat, which is still not great.
Right. Yeah, let's
So
do
you want me to
let's do
talk about those strategies?
I've been the I've been the skinny fat version of myself right after I had kids because I wasn't eating, I was skipping workouts, I was doing everything wrong. I didn't use a GLP-1 or anything like that, but it was like I neglected myself for so long and I was skinny fat. And it took a long time to rebuild to where I am now. So it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And it's not just about what we look like on the outside. It's the internal health and all the things. So I love that you hit on
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, so strategies to
Very
prevent that.
simple. Very simple, Angela. I think you preach all the time. Protein resistance training, that's really the key, right? Because when you hit your protein intake, again, it's really important to iterate that calories are not all created equal in the sense of like body composition. So if you just get in this calorie deficit, but then now you're eating just primarily carbs and fats and you're reducing your protein because protein is naturally the most filling macronutrient there is. So you're like, not only is it's shutting down my appetite, like I can't eat, I'm not as hungry. So then instead of eating the full like chicken breast, I'm eating just half a chicken breast. So it's reducing the wrong macronutrient intake. If it's taking down your protein intake, that's the wrong thing. So in this case, just still tracking your protein first and foremost so that you're aware, because I've talked to clients that literally they're like, I'm eating like 40 grams of protein in my first meal, and they track it. It's like I'm eating 15 grams. So you're not even close. You got to weigh your food initially to gain some awareness, or you can also use like the palm technique, but weighing your food is going to be crucial to actually make sure you are getting adequate protein. So I like to target like a gram I like target body weight is I think the general, is that what you recommend?
Yeah.
Like a
Usually
gram per
about one
target body
pound
weight.
per body weight or a little less if
Yeah.
they're depending on the person. And
Yeah.
then what we love to do too is like we'll figure out, like you said, like track a week. Anybody that's listening right now and you're like, I have no idea how much protein, then track 1 week first before you even shoot for goals, just for awareness. Like he said, where you're at and then inch your way up. Because yeah, protein is so key. It's the first one that we try to master.
Yeah. Without awareness, there's no action. So like Angie
Yeah.
said, do it for awareness, track it for a week, use one of her tools that she recommends. I'm not particular in any specific tool, but just having that awareness is key. And then honestly, I'm not opposed to like drinking like a whey protein shake or whatever form of protein you want to take in, a vegan blend. I think it's important if you don't talk about it, like vegan, plant-based proteins, animal-based proteins, different leucine contents, so different muscle building capabilities. So you need to get more plant protein to equate to to animal-based protein to get that same muscle turn on building effect. Um, and so that, yeah, drinking a protein shake is probably gonna is gonna be a good way to like it's a little good insurance for hitting your protein goals because it's hard for anybody to eat that much protein, let alone if you're on a GLP-1 and your appetite's blunted anyway, you're gonna need to break down these meals and eat a little more frequently, most likely. Um, so that's and then resistance training, the other part of this, you gotta send your body your muscles the signal to adapt and and uh and then like stick around. Like you want to be putting that input into your muscles to say to your brain, like, hey, this tissue is important because muscle is the most, but other than your brain, it demands a lot of energy. So if your calorie intake drastically reduces, our bodies, they evolve to not just wither away into nothing. Like, so our body's going to start paring down muscle, which means getting rid of it. And you're going to, like, to conserve energy. So you have to be putting in that signal to say, hey, I'm still using this tissue. And then you pair that with the protein. I'm getting enough nutrients to support this tissue, keep this around. Again, you're not going to keep 100% of your muscle. Expecting zero muscle loss is not realistic. You're going to lose some muscle when you're losing weight, but you want to keep the most around through that resistance training. And again, making sure it crosses off things I'm sure Angela talks about. It's systematic, it's right for you, it's progressive, it um, constantly triggers adaptation. So I'll let you talk about that kind of stuff if you want. Like I know you're an expert on that as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we're actually planning a free masterclass in our group next week to talk about the strategies of your strength training and your nutrition training. So, or
perfect.
not training, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of piggyback on this, but I love that. And you guys follow Brian. I mean, he's obviously you guys can hear from him. He knows his stuff. I know, let's see, what we got a couple more minutes and I know you have to hop off. Exit strategy. We can
Yeah, that's
end there.
important.
What does that look like?
And this kind of wraps up everything together because if you go into taking this knowing that I'm not going to be on this forever, okay, this is going to be a tool to help me while I identify those habits that are negatively impacting my health. Maybe it's an addiction, maybe it's food noise, whatever. And then knowing that weight loss will help to reorient your body, so to speak, to its own like hunger hormones. And I think there's evidence you want to be tapering off these medications, just like if you ramp up, you don't just want to cut cold turkey. You want to talk to your doctor about reducing the dose back down and gradually getting off of it. Because your body, it's a peptide, your body adjusts to the signals by different receptors in your body. So it's like, hey, it's building up receptors once you give it. So long story short, make sure it gets tapered up, tapered down. Uh, then again, working on those positive habits to building the skills. So you must, in order to achieve an outcome, you must you must build competence in it. So you must practice that repetition and build that skill that is allows you to have these certain, and you do this through certain practices, like practice working out 4 times a week, and you build this habit up and this skill. And then you also, I think, to really kind of bring this home, we talk about identity a lot. You must become the type of person who sees you doing these types of things. So I am the type of person who prioritizes protein at meals. I'm the type of person who prioritizes sleep, who goes on walks, who works out. Once you start to see yourself as that type of person, those are the habits that stick. James Clear, Atomic Habits, that he's the one that drives that home. I can't take credit for that idea. I mean, it's it's psychology, right? So think about him and what he recommends in terms of those small little atomic changes, those tiny changes, and building up those positive habits, making sure you are are you looking at the laws of behavior change? So anything that you deem as negative in your life. So while you're on this, again, it's a tool to help you to feel more accomplished and make these changes easier. You look at the negative habits that are pushing you further away from your goal. You look at the positive habits that are pushing you closer towards your goal. You say, how can I make the positive ones easier, more attractive? How can I make the negative ones harder, more unattractive to do? And you just gradually implement those changes little by little, and you've built those skills, you build that confidence up, you build confidence in yourself, you have that rise in your self-esteem, your self-belief that you can do this. And that's your exit strategy. Going in with the intention to change as a person is the exit strategy. And to say, hey, I'm going to ramp this up, I'm going to ramp it down. You know, maybe you don't hit your time frame, but you talk to your doctor about like obviously it's individualized based on how much weight you have to lose, what your blood sugar is. But I think that's a good way to kind of wrap up the exit strategy. Would you agree, or is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I love that. I mean, like, go into it like this is not a forever. This isn't something to lean on forever, but like I love that, because that's kind of how we coach, and we actually have a challenge going on right now that we did all October. Started off with one habit, and then we stacked it and we stacked it and we stacked it for the month, and doing a challenge in here this week just focused on those things: moving your body, drinking your water, eating your protein, eating your fruits and veggies. Like you've got to change your lifestyle habits while you're on these things. Otherwise, you're always going to be reliant on them mentally. And that's not good for anybody, right? And so I love that. You know, change your mindset, change your habits, move your body, eat your protein while you're on these things. And whenever it is time to taper off, like you're going to taper off, keep your results that you've gotten, which is huge. If you want to keep your results, put keep in the comments, just keep them. I don't know anybody that wants to have a short-term, progress, drop weight and then gain it back. I've never had anybody tell me that that's what they want. And so get ahead of the game, work hard while you're on them and using it as a tool. And I mean, sky really is the limit, and then taper off. And I love that. Awesome exit strategy.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Thanks, Angela. It's great to be here, and really, honestly, I love what you're doing. So keep up the great work. Really appreciate and very honored to have been in your group. And thank you all for letting me join and talk about this topic.
Yeah, you guys give him some love in the comments. I'm going to tag him in this afterwards too. You guys go follow him, go support him, and listen. Like, yeah, we're all health coaches. There's abundance of you women in here that need help. So if something resonated with you that he said today, you're like, I'd love, maybe he's someone that can help me. Awesome. Go reach out to him. Like, again, he's a coach that can help you with all the things, that also have the knowledge on these as well too. So thank you, Brian, so much for coming on here today, taking your time. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you, and I'll let you get back to the rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Angela. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Fit Mama Freedom Podcast. I really do hope you found valuable insights and inspiration to help you break free from sacrificing your health or your responsibilities. Remember, prioritizing your well-being is not selfish. It's actually essential for living your best life, as well as taking care of all those people that you love so much. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, leave a review, and even share it with your friends. Your feedback really helps us reach more women who need this message of empowerment. And don't forget to connect with us on social media. It's the Angela Campbell is our handle on Instagram for more tips and support. And also follow me at Angela I. Campbell on Facebook, or the simplest way is just go to the website, theangelacampbell.com, and you'll find links to everything, including some of our top free guides on how to stop sacrificing your health, free meal plans, free workout guides, and more. Together, we can create a community that lifts each other up and really does champions health without compromise. Until next time, embrace your freedom and take one step. All you need to do is take one step closer to the healthier, happier version of you. You've got this.